What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Two guys. We've lost our Mike. He had some Halloween family stuff to get going on this week, so he's not here again. But it's alright. He sent his picks in, so we can run down those picks and stuff a little later on, and get some talking about some football here. To start it off, I did not get a lot of football in on this Sunday. We had a little family incident this weekend, and I spent my afternoon in the ER with my son getting stitches. So I did not see a lot of football. I'm just going to throw that out as a disclaimer right now. But I found some other things that I think you and I can talk about, and we can get some good discussions going.
Yes, and for the audience, I got to see William, and he seemed in very high spirits. So I'm glad that he is okay. And did he get his Happy Meal on Monday? Is the question.
Yeah, so he is healing. He's getting better every day. He has stitches above his lip here, and in his upper lip. He looks great. We actually had to follow up with the doctor this afternoon, and they said they don't think they'll have to go in and do any revisions on it. He looks great, and they don't see any need for him to come back again. He goes back to school on Monday. He did get his Happy Meal on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday.
Oh, look at that. What a win.
It's going to take some weaning off for this man to stop getting his chicken nuggets and french fries.
I tell you what, he will be either a politician, a lawyer, something where he can negotiate and be very good at, because he is one smart cookie.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm going to push for sports agent so he can get his pop some tickets.
There you go. I like it.
But, so interesting. There were some interesting games last week. I'm just going to go over our records for Pick'em, and then when we get into the Pick'em part later on, we can maybe get into some more, because it was not pretty for any of us. Our leading point scorer this weekend was Josh at a record of 6-7.
Oh, jeez. That's bad.
Mike came in second. At 5-8. And I came in third at 4-9.
So we are one incredible group here.
as stated before, we are not professionals. This is just our opinions, and this week showed us that we are not professionals.
We started so hot too.
Yeah,
it was. I mean, at least I did, and then the realization comes into any given Sunday.
Yeah, and you know what? I think this week's a good example of any given Sunday. But with that, with these games and not seeing a whole lot of it and stuff, I did see some things come up on different sites and different things. And one thing that struck me that is kind of painful for me to bring up is the consecutive games under 400 yards by any team. The top three teams are the Steelers, Patriots, and Packers. Yeah, that's
unfortunate.
The Packers and Patriots are at consecutive games of 12 where they have not had above 400 yards total offense.
That's cute.
Yeah,
Terrible.
The Steelers are the number one team. They are currently at a 53-game streak of not having over 400 yards.
Really?
The last game they had where they went over 400 yards was September 27th of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
So, a little frustrating on the offensive side.
With that being said, I saw a little meme this week. Two of those teams, not the Packers. It was the Steelers, the Saints, which actually included, not the Saints included, Sean Payton, and the Patriots with all of their three quarterbacks, and they're like the meme of the Spider-Man pointing at each other. Of like, and is it really the case of, is the quarterback that good for for obviously Ben Roethlisberger for the Steelers. We have Drew Brees for the Saints, and then Tom Brady for the Patriots. Was were the coaches incredible coaches, or were they just lucked out with three amazing quarterbacks?
Right.
But interesting.
Well, I think Kenny Pickett is getting sick of Matt Canada because he is audibling a lot more in the second half of games, and they're starting to bump up their offense. I think this last game they had like 78 total offensive yards in the first half and like 178 in the second half, and it was when the audible started coming in.
It's crazy. It's crazy how a quarterback has to audible that much when the offensive coordinator is not doing his job.
It is. And speaking about second halves, we talked about how your frustrating team of the Packers just don't know how to come out in the first half, and they dig themselves too big of holes.
That's what I was going to say. We were talking a little bit about what the reasoning behind the Packers is, and I think really that's kind of the main situation. We get behind. We were behind 9-0 in a NFL game. I mean, that's a good spread, right? Couldn't get any points in the first half. I would really love. I'm gonna have to do some research on the past 7 weeks of our first half, because it's been absolutely crazy how little points we've scored. So that's where it's like the alarming part,
right?
And then obviously the other alarming part is Jordan Love is not looking like the first couple games. So is it like, what is the? Are we hitting the panic button now? Like, what are we doing? What's the situation? So I don't know. I told you guys. I said I feel like we needed a number one receiver. I think that's the case. I think Watson is an extremely talented receiver with a lot of speed. However, he can't seem to get him the ball, and I think we need that kind of slot guy, kind of short yardage player.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I feel you with the offensive pains of scoring touchdowns. Yet again, our defense has carried us. T.J. Watt has put this team on his back and almost single-handedly takes them to victories, which is a good thing to flow into the next thing I saw online, the power rankings of Pro Football Talk, the top 10 teams of the NFL right now. And I actually commented on this post that I saw, and it started quite a debate. So I had to look up some things, and I think it's interesting. I want to see where you think on this. The Pro Football Talk has the top 10 currently as, we'll go 10 down. 10 is the Steelers. 9 is the Seahawks. 8, the Lions. 7, the Cowboys. 6, the Ravens. 5, the 49ers. 4, the Dolphins. 3 Jaguars, 2 Eagles, 1 Kansas City. Now I look at that and a few things jump out at me. Right. One is the fact that Pittsburgh's on the list. It shocks me.
It's a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I love it. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 4-2. They're doing well. They have some quality wins. They have some questionable loss, at least one questionable loss. But the other thing to me that I actually commented on, and it started a debate, was I think San Fran still deserves to be number 3.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. So these guys are on, the Facebook warriors, the keyboard warriors, saying because San Fran's lost 2 in a row, that they deserve to be out of the top 10.
Out of the top 10?
5-2. Yeah, they don't even want them in the top 10. I think there's no debate in Kansas City at 1.
Agree.
Right. Philly, I'm not convinced how good they actually are, but at 6-1, I think they deserve to be in the top 3, 4, without a doubt. Then this is where I get into my issues. People are beating on San Fran about this, but I went back and I looked at the Dolphins and the Jags. Okay, the Jaguars have beaten Indianapolis twice.
Okay.
Atlanta and the Saints, right?
Oh,
and then
yeah.
they have the Bills. So they got one solid win, and the rest of them are like.
And that was in London, right?
Yeah. Yep.
In the like kind of home field, they were there already for 2 weeks or a week already at that point.
Yeah. So they,
Okay.
I don't see a win that's like, oh yeah, okay, like
Right.
they're, and then their losses are Kansas City and Houston.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're losing to the good team, Kansas City. Obviously, that's and the
Houston is
Texans
not
are
bad.
surprised. They play well. They do play
Yep.
well. So that, and then Miami. Everyone loves Miami this year,
Yep.
and we have been on the Miami bandwagon. And then I started looking at the schedule from what they've played so far, and it seems like the only teams that have been good teams they've lost to.
What's the
They are 5-2, and they're
Okay.
currently sitting at power rank number 4.
okay? What's their who have they beat and lost? Did you get those?
Yeah, so
Okay.
they have beat the Chargers,
Okay.
the Pats, the Broncos, the Giants, and the Panthers.
Well, Broncos are a pretty good team. I mean, they just
Yeah, right.
they just beat a really tough competitor last week. Okay. I can
So
see
there's
it.
not like, and the Chargers. We always say we've been talking about the Chargers this year, how they have a lot of talent, but they can't do nothing with it. They don't.
They're garbage.
They find ways, and then the losses they have are Buffalo and Philly. When they've played the good teams, they've lost. So I look at those two teams, and I'm like, what about those two teams puts them above San Francisco? If you were going to put these teams play in San Francisco, who would you pick?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would have to pick the 49ers.
Right.
I think the 49ers have dealt with a little bit of health issues the past couple weeks. Obviously, Debo being off the team or not playing.
Right.
Because I don't think he played last week. I'm pretty sure.
He's not playing this week either.
So I think, I mean, as much as like statistically he probably wasn't putting up like crazy numbers, I feel like he is part of the offense that's important. Obviously, Trent Williams was banged up. They have some key pieces. I think one of the things that I'm going to say about the NFL in general this year is after the 2 losses to San Francisco, I really don't feel like any team is unbeatable.
No.
Because I'm looking at the Chiefs, really good. They deserve to be number 1. Their offense has not really clicked. They obviously came out and scored 28 unanswered points, like 28 not unanswered, but 28 points in the first half,
Right.
which was incredible. And then they got stopped completely in the second half. Their offense is weird. I don't get it. It's all based on Travis Kelce, and how they can shut him down. The Eagles, again, we talked about, do not look the part of like last year. They look beatable.
Yeah.
And I just feel like every team before that, I was like, San Francisco looks unstoppable, and then they lost 2 straight.
2 in a row. Right.
So I feel like it's weird, but I feel like it's kind of like you don't know.
There's definitely chinks in the armor
Yeah.
with San Fran. I mean, they just lost prime time to Kirk Cousins.
And that's almost impossible to do.
Right. But Addison, right? Jordan Addison
Addison.
had
Yeah.
a monster game.
Huge.
Monster game. So like there are ways to beat them. Like their secondary looked vulnerable against them. I don't know if they just weren't getting the pressure that they normally would get, or what was going on with their defense, but I still looking at just I get it by records. You put these teams wherever, and they just lost twice in a row and blah blah blah. But
the top 10 is ridiculous. Yeah, that's stupid.
But even looking at it, Buffalo's 5-3, and they're not in this list. Well, they would have been 4-3 last week, but they just won Thursday night this week. So they're 5-3, and they're not on this list. And I would take Buffalo over Pittsburgh. I would take Buffalo over Seattle. I mean, they already beat Miami.
I 100% agree with you. Even with the 4-3 record,
yeah.
No offense to your Steelers, I feel like they've some of their wins have been I don't know if a little, it could have went either way, right?
Yeah, and the wins they have, some of the wins they have are teams that they should beat. They should have beat the Raiders.
Right.
They beat the Raiders. They beat the Browns. They beat the Rams. They beat. Who else did they play? The Ravens. The Ravens is the Ravens and Browns are their big wins.
Right.
Right. But they lost to the They got destroyed by the Niners, week 1, and then they lost to the Texans, who were a strong team. I feel.
They're starting to get there. Yeah, I think obviously the Steelers. I think they deserve. They're 4-2. So they're getting it done, and it doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you get the W at the end of the game. It really doesn't matter. And if they can fix that offense, I would be, what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but
right. Well, and then I'm looking at the 49ers. They've beaten the Steelers, the Rams, the Giants, the Cardinals, and the Cowboys. So even their first 5 wins of the season, looking at it, they beat the Cowboys. The Steelers are winning games.
I agree,
but they're not somebody that's gonna make you lose sleep. Maybe now with T.J. Watt, it might make your offensive coordinator lose sleep. But
in the 2 losses were Vikings, and who was last week?
The Vikings was last week. The week before that was the Browns.
Okay, so the week before.
But it was when CMC, Trent Williams, and Debo all got hurt going against the number 1 defense.
Right.
So, but I think you're right. This year there is no clear cut above everybody else team.
Yeah, I would say the only other team I would say for, again, the Chiefs are always they're going to be good. Their defense is really good.
Okay. So
that's a scary part about the Chiefs. If they can click on their offensive level and get some of these players, back into their offense is obviously they're doing something right, and Travis is doing well. They got the fan base, Taylor, everything's going well in their sense. But if they can be able to get the offense at another level, their defense is playing really good. So they would be the one team.
Which could bring up another thing we can talk about here is the trade deadline is Tuesday. Are there moves that could be made? Now, I've heard DeAndre Hopkins is being shopped around a little bit.
Really? Are the Texans selling?
Titans.
It seems like... are the Titans selling?
It kind of sounds like they are. They just traded Will Compton, who's not a huge name, Philly.
Okay.
He's not a huge name, but he's a serviceable linebacker. He's somebody who will get in there and get stops and give you depth on your defense.
The one that they made a big splash was, what's his name?
Bird.
Who's their safety?
Bird.
He went to Philly.
Yeah, I think it was Bird. I think that was his name.
I forget. Anyway, he's a big time safety.
Yeah.
Which is
so in the last 3 trades they've done, they sent AJ Brown. Is it Bird or Byron?
It's Byron. It's Byron. I think it's Byron. I'm like Bird. That's not right.
AJ Brown, Byron, and now Will Compton all have gone to the Eagles.
Yeah, good moves on their part, right? Obviously.
Then they're talking about moving Derrick Henry and Hopkins.
Yeah, it makes sense on their end.
Yeah.
Their division is only getting better right now, and they need to do something. So let me ask you, who do you think Derrick Henry would be the best fit for, since you do own him in fantasy? Okay, let me ask you, who would you want him to as a fantasy owner, and who do you think would be the most logical?
Who I'd want him to go to, I don't know.
Anywhere that there's not like competition, right? Obviously.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think. The Rams would be be nice, because there's not really like a. I mean, Kyrie Williams is hurt right now. He was playing well.
Yeah, I mean, if he was not hurt, I don't think he would ever.
Minnesota doesn't have a clear cut back.
What about the Lions?
I think
Montgomery's hurt.
Montgomery's hurt, and they have Gibbs, who's just a rookie. So I don't know if they'd go there. The one team I'm hearing I don't want him to go to, for a few different reasons, actually makes the most sense to me.
It makes the most sense.
The Ravens.
Sure. And it would be a crazy 1-2 punch.
Yeah, and I mean, for a couple different reasons, I wouldn't want him to go to the Ravens. One, obviously, is because it's the Ravens, and I wouldn't want to see him twice a year. But I feel like he probably would torch up our defense pretty good. And two, I feel like that's a curse for a running back. Like, our running backs are always hurt.
Yeah, that's true. What about this idea? I like this one, and I think you might like it as well. What if you went to Dallas?
I have heard that one a little bit. Yeah, him and Pollard I think Pollard needs him.
He does. I think we're on the same page here. Pollard's not that 3-down back.
Right.
They need that bruiser going in there. And I think that would be a splash play that Jerry would do. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happened.
You know what? I could see him wearing the star on his helmet. I think it would be a good fit for him.
It would be a good fit.
But yeah, that would help them out. I mean, there's a couple teams right in there in the top 10 that could use a running back that could help boost their rankings, and the Cowboys and the Ravens.
The Bills are another one. Obviously, they're not in top 10, but
you know what? They got to be like 11 if they're not in top 10.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
got to be close. Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot about Surtain. Yeah, and it is very intriguing for me because Pittsburgh's name comes up a ton with Patrick Surtain. If Pittsburgh, Philly, and I forget who else it is, but Pittsburgh needs to make a move at corner. I think this could be another Minkah situation. Mm-hmm. I think if they are not afraid to pull the trigger and give up a first round and maybe like a first and a fifth or something like that.
Wouldn't that be a no-brainer though, right?
Right. I mean, even if you had to give up like a first this year and maybe like a third next year and a fourth this year, something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like a Minkah trade type of stuff. I mean, I don't quite remember what they traded for Minkah, but like that would be your first round pick for next year. Would be Patrick Surtain.
What about like a first in Joey?
No.
No, you want to keep Joey.
Yeah, I want Joey and Pat working together.
Right, you want that young crew.
Yeah, and I mean like, and the Broncos, they kind of seem like they're willing to rebuild right now too. Another thing is another name that was brought up for Pittsburgh is what's his name, Bowles, the lineman from Denver. Garrett Bowles.
The offensive lineman.
Yeah, he's another name that was brought up for Pittsburgh, and I think that wouldn't be, if they could somehow package those two together. I don't know we'd have a draft next year, but
I think the Broncos, as big of a win they got this past week, I think it would be smart on their part to start tanking hard right now. Not even if it's not for Caleb Williams, it's for anything other than Russell Wilson. That is a huge contract.
Right. Yeah. That has not turned out well for them. And it is full blow up and rebuild. Now the problem with that is you're gonna have to get rid of your good guys in order to start rebuilding.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I feel like as much as Surtain is a huge value and probably a top 3 cornerback in the league. If you can get the right price, I think you start moving. I think you start moving him. I think you try to get Cortland Sutton, Judy, get those guys out of there. Start fresh. Get some capital from these guys. Really build on the draft, and then go from there. I mean, it's not looking good.
Yeah. So I don't know. And then I reached out to you because I heard another crazy rumor that I did not personally like, and I don't think you really cared for. But there was one of these beat writers was saying that there was a phone call placed from the Packers to the Steelers to see what it would take to get Najee Harris.
So here's my question. 2 questions. What are we going to give up for him? Because Najee's not. He's not terrible. He's not a throwaway player, right? So I mean, if we're going to get him a 6th round pick, sure, whatever. We'll throw him a 6th round, right? That's never going to happen. But what is going to happen to the rest of our running back? I mean, we have Jones. He's been hurt, and then we have AJ Dillon. What do you like? I don't get what Najee would do for our team better than trying to get somebody maybe to like throw the ball to instead of run it. I don't know.
Right, I hear you. And on my end of it, as good as Jaylen Warren has been, as much as I've said I think he'll take over the RB1 spot, he's not the RB1.
Right.
He's not the only RB to have on the team. I think you need those two together.
Right. Well, it's kind of like we talked about, right? With Alice, you need that 1-2 punch. Yep. Green Bay, you need the 1-2 punch. I think it would be smart for the Steelers to keep him, and I don't think that's the issue. I don't think your running game is your issue. I think it's the play calling and some pieces around it.
Yes, I think so too. And they did run and perform better in the second half against the Rams than before. So maybe they'll start turning around. This week will be a really good test, a really good challenge for them when they're bringing in the Jaguars.
And really good to have Deontay Johnson back. I really like Deontay. I think he's a good player that keeps the chains moving.
Yes.
You have him, and then obviously have Pickett's for big plays.
Yes.
Or Pickens. I'm sorry, Pickens, right?
Pickens, yeah. Pickett's the quarterback. Yeah.
Quarterback, yeah.
So I mean, if these pieces start coming together, they still need to get rid of Canada, but that's neither here nor there. They could start, like you said before, if their offense can kind of catch up to their defense and play on the same level, they could be a scary team in the NFL, I think.
Yeah, no, I think they obviously have an incredible defense, and obviously they just need a couple more pieces.
Yeah. So.
I think as far as the power rankings go, though, I think the only team that I'm shocked that and I don't know, we don't know where after this is, but do you find the Browns to be what's their record? Are they 3-3?
I don't recall. I think so. Everybody in the AFC North is at 500 or better.
500. See, I mean, obviously, we know one player for the Browns is single-handedly, like we talked about, T.J. Watt. Myles Garrett this week went off.
Yes, and that actually brings up another thing I've been seeing quite a bit on is somebody said that it was a runaway defensive player of the year for Myles Garrett. Do you agree with Myles Garrett as defensive player of the year?
You know what? You know I have a hard time with, and I'm very much guilty of this. I'm a very much guilty of like a one hit wonders, and I'm not, and I don't know how to put this in terminology, but when a player does good one week, I mean like really good,
Yeah.
it's like okay, hype train, let's go, let's
Yeah.
get on it, right?
You're all about the hype.
Right, I'm all about hype, right? And I'm not saying that Garrett hasn't been really good, but I don't think it's a runaway by any means. I think from having a insider scoop on the Steelers as T.J. Watt, I'm sure there's a play for him. There's also a play um, for Parsons, and then probably one of the I would assume either Nick Bosa or somebody on the 49ers defense, right? You would think.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, Garrett's a great player. He's been awesome. Um, but I don't see Garrett as the game wrecker that I see T.J. Watt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the bit. It just seems like week after week after week, the Steelers are in games or winning games because of T.J. Watt. I mean, this past game against the Rams when I think they were down going into halftime or something, and first drive they come out the next half and Watt gets the interception, takes down to the 6-yard line, and then
Right.
the Steelers score and they go up 10-9. Like these games are changed, and he's doing it in multiple ways. Whether it's a huge sack at a huge time, or a turnover, or just pressure on third down where the quarterback's got to throw the ball away. I think it's just he's changing the game. I've seen stat wise comparisons, and I think stat wise, yes, his numbers are up there, and it's a bit of a stretch for right now. But I've seen comparisons with T.J. Watt and Lawrence Taylor.
Okay.
Along the lines of changing defenses and putting your team in a better position to win, with sacks and pressures and how quickly they were able to do it, how young they are getting to I don't even know what it was, but getting to a certain number of defensive stat. It was the only two players to do it were Lawrence Taylor and T.J. Watt.
Well, I would say that I think you're extremely a homer, right? We know this for sure, right? You're gonna love on your guy, but however, you're watching the games more than any of us probably are going to, and look at it. I think the difference between T.J. Watt and a lot of players is that, like you said, it's the moments that count the most, right? The game-changing plays, and I think that's what he's doing. I also think that Myles Garrett also is doing that. I think the defense, they're technically, right, we talked about they're ranked as the number one defense, the Browns.
Right.
You take him off of that defense, they're not going to be number one. We know that, right?
Well, that's the thing. If you're the best player on the best defense,
right,
you're going to get the praise no matter what.
Exactly. So, but it would be interesting. I think something that we could look into moving closer to midway season is our MVPs, our defensive players, and kind of keeping track of those things, because I think this year for defense, for sure, defensive player, it's really interesting, and I feel like defense this year has just been crushing it.
They have.
I think defenses have been incredible. I mean, as wholes, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's why you don't have those runaway teams anymore.
Right.
So many more defenses are playing well, and
Right.
it's good to see. So, but why don't I run down, trying to see if we got some teams here. So last week the Jags won. We all had the Raiders and they lost. I forget who they played. The Bears. The Bears won. The Jags, Bears, Patriots, Giants, Ravens, Falcons, Seahawks, Steelers, Broncos, Chiefs, Eagles, and Vikings all took W's last week. So there's some interesting games in there that obviously I didn't see coming. I only got 4 right. Thank you, Jacksonville, Seahawks, Steelers, and Kansas City for giving me my wins.
I would say one other before we get into anything else. I would say Ravens beating the Lions so badly.
Yes.
Was it? Are we like? Where are we going with this? Are the Ravens clicking on offense now? Because the Lions' defense has been really good. Is their defense doing? They almost shut them out. Obviously,
it was like 6 points.
Yeah. So,
I feel like the whole AFC North. I already talked about them being the only team with everybody above 500 or better.
Right.
But I feel like, as from Ravens right on down to the Bengals, top to bottom, that it's show up huge one week and then disappear the next.
Yeah, it kind of seems like that.
So,
and that's where the hype, right? Where we talk about the hype of the hype train is like, oh, are the Ravens this good now? They beat them.
Yeah, right. So we'll move into our pick'ems now. It's currently Friday, so we've already had one game gone, and all 3 of us went with the Bills, who handled business last night, and they brought home the W. After that, what I would say is an embarrassing loss, but like I said, they're a rival of Bill Belichick, and that's who he goes after. That's what he likes. He likes to beat the Bills. Which will bring us up to, we'll start with the Jaguars and Steelers. I am going to be at this game, so just another heads up, there will probably be 2 weeks in a row where I don't have a lot of other games to talk about, but I will give you a lot of inside scoop on the Steelers game. So Mike is going with the Jaguars, and I am going with the Steelers. So you're our tiebreaker, man.
I'm going Steelers. 2 reasons. One, I don't want them. I don't think that the rankings of their team is really where they're at. They're a good team. They're very good. 2, and most importantly, come on, man. We got to get you a win to get out of there.
Right?
Anniversary, got to get it. Our boy Bowen, he's kind of silly for not trying to pick. He should have been picking with us. That should have been clean sweep.
Right. I don't know if he just doesn't remember or whatever. But
I don't think you remember because I forgot to.
Yeah, so I will be at this game. And the other cool thing is I play Tommy in fantasy, and he's the Jags fan. So I got him in real life and in fantasy this week.
And you're both you're 1 and 2, right?
1 and 3. You're 2.
Oh, okay. So my bad.
Yeah.
So that was not a shot. Literally, for some reason, I thought
he's undefeated, and you and I have 1 loss. I lost last week.
You did lose. For some reason, I thought you won.
I had 23 points on the bench that I lost. Then I already got 7. I already got almost 18 points sitting on the bench right now with Godwin because I took him out and he had a hurt neck. So the next game we got here is the Cowboys and the Rams. Obviously, Bowen, I think he's a bigger homer than Simpson, is going with the Cowboys on this one. I think this game is going to be really close. I do, but I'm gonna go with Mike. Actually, I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. I think they'll pull it off.
This is tough.
Yeah.
I think that the Rams were a lot better than we thought they were. Their offense is pretty exciting. However, their run game is a little bit banged up right now. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys as well.
All right. I think the Cowboys are going to have a hard time with those 2 receivers.
I think so too.
So I think it should be a good game. I think it should be a good game.
But if they had Kyron Williams, I feel like they wouldn't have been able to have the secondary help or the guys pushing back.
Right.
But the running game isn't really that great. So.
Right. Look at this, 3 in a row. We went with the Steelers, then we're at the Cowboys, now we're at the Packers. Obviously, my man over there is going to go with the Packers, or maybe you're upset enough you won't, but not for this game. I think you're going this game. So, I really wish I could return the favor.
No, don't do it to yourself.
Of you being with the Steelers for me, but Mike and I both went with the Vikings on this game.
I get it.
But in hindsight, if you're looking for silver linings, if the Packers keep going this way, I had mentioned to you before, if they keep trending this way and losing to teams they should beat, maybe that first round pick they can take Marvin Harrison Jr.
I would absolutely die from happiness. I love that guy. I think he's going to be a stud. But I will warn you, fellas, this is a rivalry game.
Mm-hmm.
So
anything can happen in rivalry games.
I get it. Yep, and obviously I'm going to be extremely confident in our team. So
you got to do it. All right, so our next game is the Titans and the Falcons. Mike has gone with the Titans. I don't know. I went with the Falcons. I feel like the Titans are in a blow-up mode. They're trying to get rid of some pieces. I don't know how much they're actually into trying to win. I'm going with the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think this is going to be the deciding factor if they're going to, kind of get rid of everybody.
Right.
After this intentional loss.
Which brings us, next game is the Colts and the Saints. Now, rewind to the beginning of the year, we had our predictions. Mike was really liking Derek Carr on the Saints. He was all about them. They were going to go like 12 or 13 wins. 12 wins, 12 and 5. This is one of the 5 games he said they weren't going to win. He's going with the Colts on this game. So he went with the Colts. I am also going with the Colts. And really praying for like a shootout between Alvin Kamara and Josh Downs would be perfect for me. But we're both going out with the Colts.
Who's home?
I don't know.
Do we know? Okay, either way. This is tough because this is not an easy decision. I'm gonna go with Saints.
Okay. All right. Our next game is another big rivalry game, squish the fish type of stuff. Actually, I don't even know if it's that big of a rivalry. It is a rivalry game. It's a big divisional game.
Yeah.
Belichick always coaches well against his division rivals, hence what they just did last week with Buffalo. We have the Patriots and the Dolphins for this game, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins take this one. And Mike also is going with the Dolphins.
Yeah, let's clean sweep this one.
Okay. The next game is who's at home and who's away. The Battle of New Yorks. We got the Giants and the Jets. Mike and myself have both went with the Jets. I don't know if you're going to ride with your mom or not.
Last week I rode with Mom and it worked out. It really did. And the Giants are technically home, so I'm going to take the home team advantage.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with the Giants.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see how this crowd is split down there. If the Giants are, I think the Giants are more of a favored team in New York. Mm-hmm. But the Jets have been surprising people this year, so it'd be interesting to see if there's more blue or more green.
That'd be interesting statistic to bring up for sure.
Yeah. So then we go on to the next game. We have the Eagles at Washington. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a clean sweep.
Yes, sir.
For the Eagles.
But divisional game.
It is a divisional game, and Washington does play their division tough.
They do. They're not a bad team. No. I think they show a lot of heart and grit, but
yeah.
It's not going to happen. So
yeah. The next game is what could possibly be a good quarterback battle down the line.
Okay.
Down the line, we have the Panthers and the Texans with Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud.
Okay, so 1-2 pick.
Yeah. The Panthers have not won yet. The Texans are one of those teams where you never know who's going to show up, who's going to do what. Mike seems to think this is the week for the Panthers. He's got them. I'm taking the Texans. I think their team overall is better. I'm going to go with the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where my head's at too. I think Texans are going to be the answer.
Okay. Then we go on to the Seahawks and the Browns. This is an interesting game to me because this is based off the power rankings we saw earlier. The Seahawks are ranked 9th. And I would have to imagine the Browns are somewhere within that 12 to 15 range.
I would agree.
And
top 15.
They have been playing well lately, and I think Walker's still going. I don't think Watson's playing.
Yeah, I think I heard that for some reason. I think I heard Watson's out.
Yeah, so Mike has gone with the Seahawks, which I think is a good play, but I went with, I don't know if it would be considered an upset or not. I'm going with the Browns. I think they give Geno a little bit of a tough game this game with the defense as strong as they got.
Yeah, I had trained them up last week, the Browns, and they right? No, they didn't play last week, did they? Cut this.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think they did play last week. Yes, they did. They won. They beat the Colts by 1 point.
Right, it was their right because that's right because cut all of this because Myles Garrett went off. Either way, I think the Browns are gonna win this, but I think this is where I think it's a good game for Seattle, right? Because this is a really good defense. So is Seattle's offense going to be able to? I mean, because they got weapons, right?
Right. Now, is Metcalf playing? Because he was out last week.
That's a good question.
I don't know if Metcalf is playing or not. It'll be interesting. Yeah, this is going to be one of those. Is this one of those AFC North teams where they just don't show, or are they going to show up? Because I feel like it took a lot out of them last week to come back against the Colts. But yeah. I'm still going with the Browns. I think they can do it. The next game is the Kansas City versus Denver, and I think this is a swift, clean sweep.
Very swiftly.
Yes. We're just going to be anti-heroes, We're not 22 anymore. But we'll shake it off and go up to Cardinals versus Ravens, the battles of the birds. Mike has gone with the Ravens like he has all year long. I think he's a Ravens fan. This is one of the times where I will agree with him and go with the Ravens over the Cardinals.
And since I'm on the hype train of the Ravens, being this incredible team, but kidding. I think Ravens will get this W.
I mean, they are the AFC North leaders at this point. They do have 2 losses. I don't remember who they lost to. Oh, there's this one team. I can't. It's escaping my mind who may have beat the Ravens this year.
I mean, it's tough to have them ranked higher when your team has beat them.
Yes.
It's kind of.
I don't know who else they lost to be honest with you, but I know the important losses to the Steelers. So, Then the next game is a very interesting game because at the beginning of the year, the way these teams started off, well, before the season started, this was a game that I circled as in to be like, wow, you got to watch this game to see who's going to win it. It could be a possible Super Bowl preview. And then one team started off real hot, one team started off weak, and now it's kind of flipped. The other one team's got a couple losses in a row. Another team's got a couple wins in a row. We have the Bengals and the 49ers. The Bengals are
3-3.
3-3, but are they coming? They're coming off a bye, I believe.
Off a bye. Yep.
So that is a very. I went back and forth on this game for a while, and I as much as I don't like the Bengals, I like the Bengals. I want to see them do well, but I think they're coming into the perfect storm of pissed off, revenge, get the stuff right type of thing. So I went with the 49ers, and Mike also went with the 49ers.
Yeah, if this was any other team, like good team, and maybe even what would it be, 7-0 49ers, I would potentially go with the Bengals. However, since they just lost 2 in a row, I'm sure they're really pissed off at this situation. I think that the 49ers, however, for some reason, this is the one, like you said, kind of circle it, and you almost kind of wonder what's going to happen.
What kind of national debate comes up if Cincinnati wins this game?
Oh, it's going to be overhyped. That 49ers are. Oh, they were
the worst,
so great.
The worst 5-0 team to ever happen, blah, blah, type of thing. Yeah. Remember back in a few years ago, Steelers went 11-0.
Right.
And then they lost almost every game.
Yeah, and you were hyped up and yeah.
That could be this could potentially push that into the same. I mean, not quite as bad as the Steelers going 11-0 and then finishing like 12 and whatever it was, but I think it would spark a debate big time whether they're overrated or not.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, their team is just so good, like top to bottom. They're just so
they really are.
Like on paper, it's like amazing.
Yeah. So. Which brings us to our Sunday night game. This is another game where I'm like,
it's annoying,
right? It is, right? Because you know who you want to pick, but do you really want to pick them?
You don't want to,
right? The Chargers and the Bears. On paper, preseason, this was a no-brainer. Chargers were walking away with this without even trying. But what we said before, they like to lose games. And this new quarterback for the Bears has been a spark for them. He's playing well. He's playing real well. I was tempted to go for the upset. Mike didn't. Mike went right with the Chargers.
Yeah.
I was very, very tempted to go with the upset and go with the Bears. But for my fantasy's sake, I'm going with the Chargers. And they're on notice right now. That if I keep picking them and they keep losing, I'm gonna have to pull the plug on them.
Oh, it's frustrating because you don't ever want to go with the team that you always go with and then end up losing. I mean, has to be a point where they end up winning one, right? I mean, right. And they were. I mean, every year I do this stupidity of being like, oh, they're gonna outpace the Chiefs, and then every year I get just beat the crap up. I'm going Chargers, and they're
on notice.
Yeah, oh God, it's so frustrating.
Right. And then that brings us up to our Monday night game. The adopted Lions for us taking on the Raiders, and just clean sweep it.
Yeah, we're just clean sweep.
We're just clean sweeping that one. The Lions
coming back from a loss that hurt, and it was embarrassing. It wasn't like one of those losses like hard fought. Like you would respect it because it is the Ravens.
Right.
They got their.
It was reality.
Speed.
It was a reality check.
Yep.
It was a reality check, and they needed it. So I think they're going to come back and be fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
All right, so that is another week down. Hopefully, the scores look better this week than they did last week.
Oh my gosh,
that was pretty embarrassing, pretty pathetic. Like I said, I'm going to be in person for the Steelers game. We're celebrating our anniversary. It's only a month later than what it actually is, but the way the schedule's lined up, this was the game that worked best for us, so we're going to go down and do that. It should be fun.
What a game to go to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and an incredibly good game for the Jags to be this good.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how Trevor Lawrence handles that pressure. I am a little nervous about our cornerbacks, not named Joey Porter, what they can do. And if this offense can start coming alive.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to hear Renegade again, and I'm very excited to join in on the Fire Canada chants.
Well, have fun. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you, sir.
It's going to be an exciting time. I know that always going to the game is 10 times better, especially when you're going to your home field.
Yeah, that's right. In 2 weeks, the Packers will be down there. So that was one of the games we had discussed. And I think if Aaron and I did not go this week, we would have definitely been going down to the Packers game. But we'll have to get together for that game.
Yeah, definitely. And just as a little news for the fans, we are looking to get a couple different special appearances, special guests coming up in the works. Looking forward to getting Mike back next week, but also maybe having some other different opinions coming into to our group. So
yes, and we have reached out, and it seems to be receptive on the other side too. So we will try to get that going.
Looking forward to it. Excited, and just keep on having the momentum.
Yeah. So for one more week, that's now 7 in the books, going on week 8. Actually, that's 8 weeks in the book because we did one preseason. Right. So for one more good show, that's 2 guys. 1 mic.
Let's go.
Peace.